The night is dark and full of theories.
The night is dark and full of theories. What if the White Walkers attacked during Robert's rebellion? What if while the realm tore itself apart in civil war, the real enemy marched south? Let us explore the depths of it in this video. Push the threshold, everyone. If this video reaches 5,000 likes, we shall release part 2. The wall stands silent under a moonless sky. Jon Arryn's letter to Ned Stark sits unread on a maester's desk at Winterfell. Robert Baratheon has not yet lifted his hammer against Rhaegar Targaryen. The realm breathes its last moment of ignorant peace before everything changes forever. At the Night Fort, the oldest and most haunted castle on the wall, Ranger Benjen Stark leads a small ranging party into the haunted forest. He is young, barely 20, eager to prove himself worthy of the Black Cloak. His breath mists in the freezing air as he signals his men forward through the ancient pines that have stood since before the Andals came. Something feels wrong. The forest holds an unnatural quiet, as if every living thing has fled or hidden itself away. The snow crunches beneath their boots with each careful step. Then, suddenly, nothing. The sound stops completely. Benjen's hand moves instinctively to his sword as blue lights flicker in the distance between the trees, dozens of them. Then hundreds. Then thousands. The whites surge forward like a tidal wave of frozen death, an avalanche of corrupted flesh and bone. Benjen's men scatter in all directions, but the dead are impossibly faster than anything living should be. He hears screaming behind him, the wet sound of tearing flesh, bones snapping like dry wood in winter. His legs pump harder than they ever have in his young life. The wall looms ahead, salvation in ice and ancient stone. He reaches the gate, pounding on it with bloody fists, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The gate rises with agonizing slowness. Benjen tumbles through, gasping for air. Behind him, the night comes alive with blue eyes and clicking bones and the shambling march of the dead. The wall's defenders stare in absolute horror as the army of the dead crashes against the barrier like waves against a cliff. Lord Commander Corgyle stands on the battlements, his weathered face pale in the torchlight, unbelieving. Light every torch on the wall, wake every man in every castle, and someone get ravens to Winterfell. Now, but the ravens will not fly. Every bird released falls from the sky before it travels 100 yards, frozen mid-flight, ice forming on black feathers before they hit the ground with dull thuds. The maesters stare at the dead birds piling in the rookery with growing dread. We are alone against this. At Winterfell, Rhaegar Stark receives different news entirely. King Aerys has summoned him and Brandon to King's Landing to answer for Brandon's threats against Prince Rhaegar after Lyanna's disappearance. Ned watches his father prepare to ride south with a sense of doom he cannot name. "Father, let me go in your place." Brandon spoke the words in anger. He must answer for them with his own voice. "And I will stand with my son as a father should." Something feels deeply wrong about this summons. The king grows more unstable with each passing moon. All the more reason I must go. To protect your brother from his own hot blood and rash tongue? Rhaegar Stark rides south with 20 good men, completely unaware that the wall is under siege 300 leagues to the north. He does not know that his youngest brother watches the dead claw at ancient ice. He does not know he rides toward his own death in the Mad King's court. In King's Landing, Aerys Targaryen sits on the Iron Throne, his fingernails long and yellow, his hair matted and filthy, his purple eyes burning with madness. Varys whispers counsel in his ear, while Jaime Lannister stands in white armor, watching, always watching with the uncomfortable awareness of a boy forced to witness horrors. "Your Grace, Lord Rhaegar Stark has arrived to answer your royal summons." "Good. Bring him to the throne room immediately, and prepare the wildfire. We shall show these northern rebels what happens to traitors." Jaime's hand tightens on his sword hilt. He is 17, idealistic, still believing in the songs about honor and justice and noble knights. He does not yet know what he will be forced to witness this day. Brandon Stark is brought in chains, struggling against his bonds. Rickard stands proud, his northern gray eyes meeting Aerys's mad purple ones without flinching or showing fear. "You summoned us, Your Grace. We have come to answer as loyal subjects." "Answer? Your son threatened my son, threatened the crown prince of the 7 kingdoms. That is treason. My son spoke in anger over the disappearance of his betrothed, Your Grace. We seek only Lady Lyanna's safe return and peace between our houses." Eris's laugh echoes through the hall, high and terrible, the sound of a mind long broken. Peace? There is no peace for traitors. Only fire and blood. Burn them all. The throne room erupts into controlled chaos. Rickard is strung up in his armor, while wildfire burns beneath him. Brandon is placed in a Taroshi strangling device, a sword placed just out of reach. Jaime watches, horror frozen on his young face, as the Mad King murders the Warden of the North and his heir with theatrical cruelty. Reach for the sword, boy. Save your father. Reach. Brandon strangles himself, trying to reach the blade that would free his father. Rhaegar Stark roasts slowly in his armor, the smell of burning flesh filling the throne room. And Eris laughs, already ordering his pyromancers to stockpile more wildfire beneath the city streets. At the Eyrie, Jon Arryn receives the devastating news. His ward, Ned Stark, stands before him, with tears streaming silently down his face, his world shattered. Robert Baratheon's rage fills the high hall like a physical force. The king demands our heads as well. Yours and Robert's both. Then we refuse his summons. We call our banners. We ride to war. Ned, your father and brother, are dead because of that mad creature on the throne. Robert's voice shakes the ancient rafters. And he wants us dead as well, so we make him dead first. Jon Arryn looks at these two young men, barely more than boys, and sees the realm splitting like an axe through wood. If we do this, it is open rebellion against the crown. It is war. It is justice for murder. Ned's voice carries the cold of northern ice. Call the banners, Lord Arryn. The North remembers. And the North will have vengeance. The rebellion begins its terrible course. Robert rides for Storm's End to rally the Stormlands. Ned rides north to Winterfell to claim his father's seat and raise the northern banners. Jon Arryn calls the Lords of the Vale to arms against the Mad King. But at Castle Black, Benjen Stark watches something far worse than civil war unfold before his eyes. The dead have been attacking the wall for 3 days and nights without pause, not in organized waves but constantly, endlessly, like a tide that refuses to ebb. They pile bodies against the ice, climbing over each other like ants swarming over a carcass. The wall's defenders dump boiling oil, loose arrows by the thousands, drop massive stones. Nothing truly stops them for long. How many does Lord Commander Corgyle ask quietly, his voice hoarse? Thousands upon thousands. Benjen's voice is raw from shouting orders. And more coming with every nightfall. They never stop. Never tire. The Night King himself? I have not seen him personally. But something commands them with terrible intelligence. You can feel it in the cold. A White Walker strides through the army of the dead, tall and terrible in armor that seems carved from winter itself. It touches the wall with one pale hand, and the ice groans deep within, ancient magic straining against an equally ancient enemy. The spells woven by Brandon the Builder hold, but barely, like a dam developing hairline fractures. The wall has stood for 8,000 years. It will not fall now. It has never faced this level of assault. Benjen points to the north where the sky glows with strange aurora lights. Whatever sleeps up there has awakened, and we do not have the men to stop it. At Winterfell, Ned Stark sits in his father's chair, far too young for its weight and responsibility. Maester Wallis approaches with a message scroll, his face troubled. My lord, a raven from Castle Black managed to get through before the rest started falling. It says... He stops, staring at the message in disbelief. What does it say? It says the dead are attacking the wall in massive numbers. Thousands of them. Led by creatures from the old stories. White Walkers riding dead horses. The other northern lords gathered in the hall laugh nervously, uncomfortable with the implications. Lord Umber slaps his knee. The Watch has gone mad from isolation and fear of shadows. But Ned remembers old man's stories, told by firelight when he was a boy learning his letters. He remembers his father's words about winter and duty. He remembers the ancient oaths sworn by House Stark. How many men does Castle Black have in garrison? Perhaps 1,000, my lord. The wall has been severely undermanned for generations. No one takes the Watch seriously anymore. And they ask for reinforcements? They beg for them, my lord. The message is desperate in a way I have never seen. Ned stands, young but already carrying his father's authority like an ill-fitting cloak he must grow into. Lord Umber, take 500 men north immediately. Ride for the wall with all possible speed. My lord, we are already calling banners for war in the south. The Mad King murdered your father and brother. The realm demands justice. The wall is our first duty. It always has been for 8,000 years. Winter is coming, and if the watch falls, we all fall with it. But the rebellion needs every sword. Will mean nothing if the dead march south unopposed. Go now. Lord Umber rides north with his men, grumbling about wasted effort and children's tales. Ned watches them depart, and prays to the old gods that his instinct is wrong. But in his bones, in his blood, he knows it is right. In the Riverlands, Hoster Tully makes his choice for the rebellion. His daughter Catelyn was betrothed to Brandon Stark, now murdered by the Mad King. His daughter Lysa will marry Jon Arryn to seal the alliance. He calls his banners for the wolves and stags against the dragon. We ride with the North and the Vale against Aerys's madness. But his maester brings strange, troubling news from the far north. Lord Stark has sent half his available forces to the wall, my lord. They claim the dead are rising beyond it. The dead rising? Old stories to frighten children, my lord. Clearly the stress of his father's brutal murder has affected young Eddard's judgment. Hoster Tully frowns thoughtfully. Or he knows something we do not. The Starks have held the North for thousands of years through the longest winters. They do not panic at shadows. At King's Landing, Aerys grows more paranoid with each passing day, seeing traitors in every shadow. His pyromancers work day and night without rest, brewing wildfire in quantities never before seen. Jaime stands guard, watching, hating what he sees but bound by sacred oaths. The traitors will come, Varys whispers, like poison. The wolves, the stags, the fish, the falcons. All of them march against you, then we burn them all. Burn them all. The city, the castle, everything. Let Robert Baratheon be king of ashes and charred bones. Jaime's hand trembles slightly on his sword. He has sworn holy oaths to protect the king. But what oath includes watching a madman burn 500,000 innocent people alive? Meanwhile, Tywin Lannister sits in Casterly Rock, carefully maintaining his neutrality. His son wears white in the Kingsguard, but that does not mean he supports the Mad King's reign. He waits, watches, calculates which side will ultimately triumph. Father, we should declare for the rebels. Aerys has clearly lost his mind completely. Be quiet, Tyrion. You are 10 years old and understand nothing of real politics. I can count well enough, father. The rebels hold 4 kingdoms. Aerys has the crown lands and perhaps Dorne if Prince Doran feels generous. Tywin almost smiles at his dwarf son's precocious intelligence. The Tyrells have not declared yet, nor have the Martells committed their full strength, and the North wastes half its power on something else entirely. What do you mean? They send men to the wall. Some mad story about the dead rising beyond it. Tyrion's eyes widen. He has read the old books, the histories most people dismiss as legend and superstition. What if it is not mad at all? Do not be ridiculous, boy. But Tywin files the information away carefully in his strategic mind. The North does not panic without reason. If Ned Stark sends men to the wall, there is a cause worth understanding. At the wall, Lord Umber arrives with his 500 men and immediately grasps the full horror. The wall stands under constant siege. The dead pile against it like snow in a blizzard, endless and patient, and utterly relentless. 7 hells. Welcome to Castle Black, my lord. Benjen Stark looks utterly exhausted, his face gaunt from lack of sleep. We need every sword and every strong arm. How long can the wall possibly hold against this? The wall itself will hold. The magic is older than the Andals, older than the first men themselves. But we must hold the castles and gates. If they breach through, a horn blows once, then twice, then a third time, the sound that means White Walkers approach. They emerge from the tree line like winter-given form, tall and terrible in armor that shimmers with cold light. Behind them, giants lumber forward, dead and reanimated, terrible in their corrupted majesty. On their massive shoulders they carry entire tree trunks, like battering rams. They build siege weapons from the forest itself. The giants hurl the massive trees at the wall with crushing force. They smash against the ice, cracking it. The ancient spells hold, but the Night's Watch can feel them weakening with each impact, like a great bell developing cracks. Archers, loose arrows now. Arrows rain down in black clouds. The whites fall like wheat before a scythe, but more take their place immediately. Always more. Lord Umber fights beside his men, his great axe cleaving through frozen flesh and old bone. How do we kill these things? Fire works best. Benjen shouts back over the chaos. Dragonglass if we possessed it. Valyrian steel. But few have such blades now. Then we are doomed eventually. Not yet. Not while the wall still stands between them and the south. But for how long? That is the question no one dares speak aloud. In the Riverlands, Rhaegar Targaryen rides at the head of the royal army, no longer the dreaming poet of songs. His father's madness has forced him to take the field personally, to lead men to war against rebels with legitimate grievances. He knows what Aerys did to Rickard and Brandon Stark. He knows it was cold-blooded murder, not justice. We march to meet the rebels at the Trident. My prince, Sir Arthur Dane, speaks quietly as they ride. Your father's actions cannot be defended. Even among loyalists, there is deep discontent. I know Arthur. I know better than anyone. But he remains my father. He remains the king. For how long? If you prevail in this war, what then? Rhaegar is silent for a long moment. He has thought extensively of deposing Aerys, of calling a great council. But war has come, and war simplifies everything into stark binary choices. Victory or death. We will address that grave matter when we have won. But at night in his tent, he dreams. Dreams of ice and snow and darkness spreading from the north like a plague across the land. Dreams of blue eyes in the darkness and a great enemy that makes civil war seem petty and meaningless. He wakes shaking, covered in cold sweat. Lyanna. She waits at the Tower of Joy in Dorne, heavy with his child, protected by 3 of his finest knights. He wonders constantly if he has made the right choices. He wonders if any of this matters at all, if the dreams speak truth. At Storm's End, Robert Baratheon drills his men with savage, focused intensity, working them until they can barely stand. Faster. Harder. The enemy who murdered Ned's family comes, and by all the gods, old and new, we will paint the Trident red with their blood. Stannis watches his brother with quiet concern. Robert, you must rest. You will exhaust yourself before the battle even begins. I will rest when Rhaegar is dead, when Aerys is dead, when justice is finally served for what they did. The North sends half its strength to the wall instead of joining us. I heard that puzzling news. Robert spits. Foolish. We need every man here in the South. What if Ned is right about the threat? What if something truly menaces the wall? Then the wall will hold, as it has for 8,000 years of history. Our war is here, brother, with the living, not with legends and ghost stories. But Stannis is not convinced. He has heard the old tales as well, and Ned Stark does not strike him as a man who panics at shadows. At Dragonstone, Sir Willem Darry prepares contingencies for Queen Rhaella and Prince Viserys. He can feel the realm tearing itself apart. He can sense Aerys' madness metastasizing through the kingdom like a disease. When the rebels ultimately win, they will come here for the remaining Targaryens. Then we flee before they arrive. Rhaella holds her swollen belly protectively. My child will not die in Robert Baratheon's war of vengeance. Where shall we go, your grace? The free cities. Braavos, perhaps. Anywhere the rebellion cannot easily reach us. A storm rages outside Dragonstone, lightning splitting the sky in jagged branches. On the mainland, armies march toward their fate at the Trident. And at the wall, the dead march south with patient, inevitable purpose. The Battle of Summerhall comes first, a skirmish in truth, but brutal and bloody. Robert Baratheon crashes through Targaryen loyalists like a warhammer through parchment. His famous warhammer crushes armor and bone with equal terrible efficiency. His men chant his name like a prayer or a war cry. For Ned, for the North, for justice. He does not know that in the far north Lord Umber is already dying on the wall, his body frozen and then reanimated, fighting against his own men with dead eyes. He does not know that Castle Black has fallen after weeks of constant siege, that the Night's Watch retreats in desperation to Eastwatch in the Shadow Tower. Benjen Stark fights his way through the chaos of the falling castle, a dragonglass dagger clutched in one hand, a torch in the other. He has learned how to kill White Walkers now, but there are far too many Whites, too many of the others striding through the carnage like gods of winter made flesh. Fall back to the boats, to Eastwatch now. They flee across the narrow channel of water, watching Castle Black burn with cold blue fire that gives no warmth. The Night King stands atop the wall itself, and where his feet touch the ancient ice, cracks spread like spider webs. The spells woven into the wall 8,000 years ago begin to fray and unravel. We must warn the realm immediately. The ravens still refuse to fly. Something in the air prevents them. Then we ride south ourselves. Benjen turns to his surviving men. I need volunteers. Fast horses, brave hearts. Someone must reach Winterfell with warning. Every man volunteers without hesitation. He chooses 10, the best riders with the swiftest horses in the stables. Ride as if the realm itself depends on your speed, because it does. They ride south in a desperate race against the spreading cold and the army of the dead. At the Trident, the armies gather like storm clouds before lightning strikes. Robert's rebels number 40,000 strong. Rhaegar's loyalists match them man for man. The river runs between them, and both sides understand that whoever controls this field controls the entire war. The night before battle, Rhaegar Targaryen stares into his campfire, watching flames dance. Sir Arthur Dayne sits beside him in companionable silence. Do you think Lyanna is safe in Dorne? Sir Oswell and Sir Gerald protect her personally. She is as safe as anyone can be in these dark times. I dream of ice constantly, Arthur. Ice and darkness and the ending of all things. You have always dreamed strange dreams, my prince. It is the dragon blood. What if they are not mere dreams? What if they are warnings of what comes? Arthur does not answer immediately. In the distance, Robert Baratheon sharpens his warhammer methodically, and Ned Stark prays to nameless old gods for strength and wisdom and victory. The Battle of the Trident begins at dawn with trumpet calls. Robert and Rhaegar both understand this has become deeply, bitterly personal. Rhaegar took Lyanna, whatever the complex truth of that might be. Robert wants vengeance wrapped in love's bitter cloak. The armies crash together like waves meeting in a violent storm. Rhaegar fights his way through the melee with skill and grace. He does not truly seek this combat, but honor and duty demand it. He rides forward in black armor, rubies glittering on his breastplate like drops of frozen blood. They meet in the middle of the river, hammer against sword. Robert fights with rage and grief, twisted into something sharp and deadly. Rhaegar fights with the weight of a dying dynasty on his shoulders and prophecy clouding his mind with visions. The hammer swings with terrible force. Rhaegar dodges with practiced grace. His sword catches Robert's arm, drawing blood that clouds the river water. Robert barely notices the wound. He swings again with even greater fury, and this time the hammer connects solidly. Rubies explode from Rhaegar's breastplate, scattering into the water like garnets. Lyanna never loved you. She never wanted you. She came willingly to me. We married in secret by the old gods and the new both. The hammer comes down again with crushing force. Rhaegar's chest caves inward with a sickening crack. He falls into the Trident, drowning in water and blood and broken prophecy. The last dragon prince dies, and something vital dies with him. Rhaegar has fallen. The battle is won. The loyalist army breaks and scatters. Robert stands in the river, his hammer dripping red, and he feels hollow rather than triumphant. He thought killing Rhaegar would bring peace to his soul. It brings only emptiness. Robert. Ned wades to his friend through bodies and blood. It is finished. Is it? Then why does the wound in my heart still bleed? Because war does not heal wounds. It only carves new scars deeper than the old ones. But the war is far from over. At King's Landing, Aerys receives news of his son's death, and his fragile mind shatters completely into madness. Burn them. Burn them all. Every street, every building, every soul in this cursed city. Let Robert Baratheon rule over ashes and blackened bones. Jaime Lannister stands in the throne room as pyromancers rush to obey their mad king with terrible efficiency. He sees them carrying jars of wildfire toward the hidden caches. He hears Aerys screaming the same two words like a mantra of madness. Burn them all. Burn them all. And Jaime makes his choice, the choice that will define him forever. He walks toward the throne with steady, deliberate purpose. Aerys sees him coming, his eyes bright with complete madness. Yes, good. Guard your king well. Kill the traitors when they come through the gates. Jaime says nothing at all. He drives his sword through Aerys's back with a single clean thrust. The mad king gasps, blood bubbling from his lips. Jaime withdraws the blade and strikes again, this time through the throat to be certain. Aerys Targaryen, third of his name, dies choking on his own blood. Jaime sits on the Iron Throne, blood staining his golden armor, and waits for Robert Baratheon's judgment. When Robert and Ned arrive, they find the Kingslayer on the throne, looking impossibly young and lost and stained with regicide. I killed him. He was going to burn the entire city. Kill everyone in it. I had to stop him. Get off the throne immediately. Jaime stands quickly, suddenly looking very much like a boy who has done something terrible and necessary. The throne is yours, Robert. I want no part of it whatsoever. Ned stares at the body, at the blood, at the young knight. You broke your sacred oath. I saved 500,000 innocent lives. Jaime's voice hardens slightly. I would break it again without hesitation. Before the heated debate can continue, the throne room doors crash open violently. A rider stumbles in, covered in frost and dried blood. One of Benjen's messengers from the wall. The wall has fallen. Castle Black is taken. The dead march south in numbers beyond counting. He collapses immediately. Ned rushes to him, but the man is dying, frozen from within by unnatural cold. His last words are barely a whisper. Thousands. So many thousands. They never stop coming. The throne room falls into shocked silence. Robert looks at Ned with dawning horror. Ned looks at Robert with the same expression. The Kingslayer looks at both, confused. What does he mean, the wall has fallen? Ned's face has gone pale as northern snow. It means we have been fighting the wrong war entirely. In the north, Benjen Stark watches from Eastwatch as sections of the wall collapse. Not catastrophically, not all at once, but Castle Black falls first, the ancient ice crumbling section by section. The army of the dead pours through the breach like water through a broken dam, spreading across the gift. How many march south? 100,000 at least, perhaps many more. Benjen's voice sounds hollow and defeated. And they turn everyone they kill into one of them. The numbers grow with every battle. What do we do now? We warn Winterfell and every castle south. We warn everyone who will listen. And we pray to gods, old and new, that someone believes us in time. At Winterfell, Roderick Cassel stands on the battlements, watching the northern horizon with growing unease. The air tastes wrong, far too cold even for the deepest winter. The animals grow restless and afraid. Wolves howl in the distant darkness, a sound of pure terror. Then he sees it clearly, snow falling in patterns that defy all nature, swirling upward in some places, moving against the wind. And in that unnatural snow blue lights flicker like will-o-wisps. Old man spoke only truth. He turns to the maester with barely controlled urgency. Send ravens to every castle in the north immediately. Every holdfast, every tower. The White Walkers are real, and they march south toward us. Tell them to prepare for siege. Gather dragon glass, oil, fire. Everything we have. My lord, the southern kingdoms will think us completely mad. I care nothing for what they think. Do it now. The ravens fly south carrying news that will reshape the realm forever. At King's Landing, Robert Baratheon is crowned king in a ceremony that feels rushed and graceless. He stands in armor rather than royal finery, wearing a crown that sits heavy and uncomfortable on his brow. There is no joy in the coronation, only grim necessity. Ned approaches after the ceremony with another raven scroll in his hand, his face grave. From Winterfell. The wall has fallen at Castle Black specifically. The dead march through the gift. Last Hearth, Carhold, even Molestown, all gone. All dead or worse than dead. How is this even possible? Does it matter how? They come, they kill, they add the dead to their numbers. The army grows with every battle we lose. Robert sits heavily on the Iron Throne, the twisted swords pressing into his back uncomfortably. How many men do we have available? Perhaps 60,000 who are not dead or too wounded from the rebellion. Scattered across 7 kingdoms. And the north faces this alone? 15,000 at best. They are the ones facing the dead right now. We need dragonglass. We need Valyrian steel. We need fire. Ned nods slowly, thinking. I ride north immediately. My people need me. I ride with you. Robert, you are king now. You must organize the southern kingdoms, call all the banners, damn the southern kingdoms and their politics. Your family dies in the north. I will not stay here in comfort while you fight alone. Before Ned can protest further, Varys appears like a shadow, gliding into the throne room. Your Grace, there is someone you should meet, someone with specific knowledge of the enemy we face. He gestures, and a portly man waddles forward, richly dressed in eastern silks. This is Illyrio Mopatis, a magister from Pentos. He possesses certain historical information about the Long Night. I have no time for SOC merchants and their tales. Not tales you will find in Westerosi books, Your Grace. Illyrio's voice is smooth as scented oil. The Valyrians fought the White Walkers once, long before the doom consumed them. Robert leans forward despite himself, interested. How did they fight them? Dragonglass, as you have surmised, but also dragonfire. The White Walkers fear it above all else in this world. We have no dragons. They died with the Targaryens a century ago. Varys and Illyrio exchange meaningful glances that speak volumes. Not entirely, Your Grace. 3 dragon eggs exist. They were removed from Dragonstone before the rebellion. Eggs are useless without living dragons to hatch them, unless they can be hatched through other means. And how does one accomplish that miracle? Blood magic. The same kind attempted at Summerhall, but executed correctly this time. Robert stands abruptly, his expression darkening. What would this ritual require exactly? The eggs themselves. A person of pure Valyrian blood. And death. Someone must die for dragons to live again. We have no Targaryens here in Westeros. Not here. Varys' smile is thin as a knife blade. But across the narrow sea, Queen Rhaegar has birthed a daughter, Daenerys. And young Viserys survives as well, the last living dragon blood. You ask me to use innocent children in blood magic? I ask you to save the realm, Your Grace. Whatever the cost might be. Robert looks at Ned with conflicted eyes. Ned stares back, and for the first time, Honorable Ned Stark has no clear answer. What is one child's life weighed against the realm entire? Where are they now? Dragonstone. The Queen still recovers from a difficult birth. I can have them brought here within days. Do it. And find every scrap of dragonglass in the 7 kingdoms. Arm every man, woman, and child who can hold a weapon. In Winterfell, the dead arrive with winter itself. A blizzard descends that freezes men where they stand. The gates seal shut. The walls fill with defenders. Roderick Cassel watches the army of the dead surround his castle like a frozen sea with no end. How many surround us? Thousands, my lord. Tens of thousands, and more arrive with each nightfall. The Whites hurl themselves at the walls with mindless persistence. Archers cut them down, but they rise again moments later. Burning oil works better, but the stores of oil diminish quickly. We cannot hold indefinitely. We need only hold until Lord Eddard returns with reinforcements from the south. But will he return in time? That question haunts everyone. At what remains of the wall, Benjen Stark leads a desperate last stand at Eastwatch. The Shadow Tower still holds to the west, but Castle Black is a frozen wasteland crawling with the dead. We must retake Castle Black somehow. We cannot. There are too many. We would die to no purpose whatsoever. Then we destroy what remains. Collapse the wall completely, seal the breach. That is sacrilege against 8,000 years of history. The wall has stood since the age of heroes. And now it has fallen. Benjen's voice is hard. We improvise or we die. Those are our only choices. They pack the remaining tunnels with what little wildfire the Night's Watch possesses, kept for desperate circumstances. When it detonates, a massive section of the wall collapses, burying thousands of Whites under tons of ice and stone. But tens of thousands more simply walk around the rubble. In King's Landing, Rhaegar Targaryen is brought before Robert under heavy guard. She clutches baby Daenerys to her chest protectively. Young Viserys clings to her skirts, trying to appear brave. She is terrified. You mean to kill us all? No. Robert's voice is surprisingly gentle. I need your help desperately. Help? You slew my son in the river. You destroyed my entire family. And now I need you to save the realm from something far worse than civil war. He explains everything about the White Walkers, the dead rising, the desperate need for dragons. Rhaegar listens with growing horror. You would use my innocent children in blood magic? I would use anyone, anything, to stop what comes from the north, including myself if necessary. And if I refuse, then we all die. Every soul in Westeros becomes one of them, your children included. She closes her eyes. When they open again, tears stream down her face. What must be done? Illyrio steps forward, his movements precise. The ritual requires 3 elements: dragon eggs, Targaryen blood, and a willing death. Whose death? Not yours, Your Grace. Not the children's. But someone must pay the price. I will do it. Jaime Lannister steps forward from his position against the wall. I killed a king already. Let my death purchase something greater than murder. Jaime, you need not. I tire of this golden armor. Tired of broken oaths and bloody choices, let me do one purely good thing before I die. Ned Stark speaks quietly. It should be someone of noble blood who goes willingly to their fate. I am willing, and I am the son of the wealthiest lord in Westeros. Noble enough, the ritual is prepared in the throne room over 3 days of careful preparation. The Iron Throne serves as altar. 3 dragon eggs, ancient and beautiful, rest among the twisted swords. Jaime Lannister kneels before them in white armor, a long sword across his knees. Are you afraid? Rhaella asks softly. Terrified. But I have done terrible things in my short life. Perhaps this balances the scales somewhat. The ritual begins at midnight. Rhaella cuts her palm with a Valyrian steel dagger, letting blood drip onto the eggs. Viserys does the same, his small hand trembling but steady. Baby Daenerys cries as a single drop of her blood joins theirs. Jaime speaks words in ancient Valyrian, taught to him by Illyrio, words that sound like fire given voice and form. Then he takes the sword in both hands and drives it through his own heart. He dies quickly. His blood pools around the eggs, steaming in the cold throne room. For a long moment, nothing happens. Then the eggs begin to crack with sounds like breaking stone. The hatching is violent and terrible. Fire erupts from the shells, consuming Jaime's body entirely, consuming the pooled blood. The heat is so intense that guards stumble backward. Robert shields his eyes, but Ned watches, transfixed by horror and wonder. The fire fades gradually. 3 dragons emerge, tiny but perfect. One is black with red eyes like garnets. One is green with bronze. One is cream and gold. Daenerys stops crying. The black dragon crawls to her tiny hand and nuzzles it gently. By all the gods. Robert breathes the words like prayer. It worked. They are small, Ned observes practically. How long until they can fight? Years, Illyrio says. Dragons grow swiftly, but not that swiftly. We do not have years. Months at best. Then we fight with what we have. Dragon glass and fire and desperate courage. Word spreads across the realm like wildfire through dry grass. Dragons are reborn. The dead march south. Every lord must choose, prepare for winter or pretend it is not coming. Tywin Lannister chooses preparation. Whatever else he may be, he is not a fool. Dragonglass. I want every mine in the Westerlands searched, every ruin explored. The first men used it extensively. We will find it. Father, Jaime is dead. Tyrion's voice is small and broken. For all Tywin's coldness, Jaime was the golden son, the heir, the favored child. I know. Tywin's voice cracks, just slightly, betraying emotion beneath stone. He died so dragons could live. He did what I raised him to do. He saved our house by saving the realm, by dying for Targaryens, by dying for the living against the dead. For the first time, Tyrion sees his father as something more than cold ambition. There are tears in Tywin's eyes, quickly blinked away. In Dorne, Oberyn Martell receives the news and his reaction surprises everyone. The dead march, and we waste precious time mourning old grievances. Elia and her children are gone. We cannot change that truth. You would forgive the Lannisters? His brother asks carefully. I would survive. Revenge means nothing if we are all frozen corpses walking in an endless winter. Dorne mobilizes its forces. The Desert Kingdom has little experience with snow and ice, but they have spears and fire, and Oberyn Martell, who has faced death in 100 forms and laughed at each one. At Highgarden, the Tyrells debate their course. The North invents threats to gain southern gold and southern men for their own purposes. And if they speak truth, Olenna Tyrell's voice cuts through the discussion like a blade. If the dead are real and we do nothing, what then? We cannot base strategy on children's tales, grandmother. Can we not? The Starks have held the North for 8,000 years. They built the wall. They remember things we have forgotten. I say we aid them. Mace Tyrell, for once, listens to his mother's counsel. We will send food and supplies, but not men, not yet. You are a fool, Mace. But very well, send the food, and pray the dead eat slowly enough for your cowardice to not doom us all. The southern armies gather slowly. Ned Stark arrives at Winterfell to find his castle under siege, the dead surrounding it like a frozen ocean. But he brings hope. 40,000 men, Robert Baratheon at their head, and 3 infant dragons in a reinforced cart, kept warm by braziers. Ned, Roderick Cassel shouts from the walls. Thank the old gods. Open the gates. We break through now. The Southern army crashes into the dead from behind. It is not a battle, but a slaughter, chaotic and brutal. The whites are endless, but fire and dragon glass prove effective. Men with obsidian-tipped spears cut through them. Wildfire burns them by the hundreds. Robert's warhammer crushes skulls, frozen or not. He fights like a man with nothing left to lose, with everything to prove. They break through after hours of desperate fighting. The gates open just wide enough for the army to pour inside, then slam shut immediately. The dead press against the walls, but the walls hold. For now. Inside Winterfell's great hall, Ned and Robert reunite, both covered in blood and frost. You brought dragons, infants, but yes, and 40,000 men. Everyone I could muster, the Riverlands, the Vale, the Stormlands, even some from the Reach and Westerlands. Tywin sent dragonglass and gold. Tywin Lannister? His son died to hatch these dragons. He takes it personally. Ned looks out at the army of the dead surrounding them. We cannot win by defending. There are too many. They grow stronger while we grow weaker. Then what do you propose? We ride north. Find the Night King. Kill him. That is suicide. Do you have a better strategy? Robert does not. Neither does anyone else. They plan the expedition over the next few days while the dead besiege Winterfell. 100 men, the finest warriors in the realm. Ned Stark, Robert Baratheon, Benjen Stark, who rode south to join them, Oberyn Martell, who came north seeking glory and purpose, young Jorah Mormont, desperate to prove his worth, and dozens more, each knowing they likely will not return. We will not all come back. Ned states the truth plainly. Probably not, Robert agrees. But if we kill the Night King, perhaps the rest fall, perhaps the army simply collapses. That is speculation built on hope. It is all we have. Rhaella volunteers to bring the dragons despite their youth. They are too small to fight effectively. They are dragons. They will understand what must be done. The night before departure, Ned writes letters. To Catelyn, who he is meant to marry. To Jon Arryn, who raised him as a son. To everyone he loves. Robert writes nothing. He has no one left to write to. Lyanna, still in Dorne. Still carrying Rhaegar's child. If I survive this, I will find her. Tell her I understand now. And if you do not survive, then tell her yourself. They ride north at dawn. 100 warriors on a mission that may save or doom the realm. The dead part before them, not attacking, merely watching with blue eyes that glow in the gloom. It is deeply unsettling. They herd us north. Benjen observes quietly. Let them. Ned's voice is grim. We seek the Night King. If he wants us as well, so much the better. They ride for days through frozen wasteland that grows colder and stranger. Men lose fingers and toes to frostbite. Horses die and must be abandoned, but they continue north, driven by duty and desperation. Finally, they see it. The true north, the heart of winter, where summer has never touched and never will. And in the center, on a throne carved from a single massive piece of ice, sits the Night King. He waits for them, as if this meeting was always inevitable. White Walkers stand in a circle around him. 12 ancient beings in armor like frozen starlight. Whites number in the thousands but do not attack. This is to be a formal combat, a test of strength and will. The Night King stands slowly, impossibly tall, his presence like winter given consciousness and malice. You come to die. We come to end you. Robert steps forward, hammer in hand. You and your frozen army. You cannot end winter. I am winter. I am the long night. I am eternal. Everyone dies. Even you. The Night King's smile is the most terrible thing Robert has ever witnessed. Then let us see which of us speaks truth. The battle erupts like a storm breaking. Whites surge forward. The 100 warriors form a defensive circle, back to back, surrounded. Dragonglass and Valyrian steel flash in pale light. Men die screaming. Some rise again as whites within moments. Burn the bodies. Do not let them rise. They pour oil on their own fallen and set them alight. A horror necessary for survival. Robert fights his way toward the Night King through the press. A White Walker blocks his path, ice sword gleaming. Robert's hammer shatters the blade, shatters the walker. It explodes into ice crystals, and every white it created collapses instantly. Kill the walkers. They command the whites. The warriors focus their attacks. Benjen drives his dragon glass dagger through a walker's eye. Oberyn, quick as a viper, spears another through the throat. Jorah's Valyrian steel sword, long claw, cleaves through ice armor. But more walkers keep coming. And more men keep dying. Ned fights beside Robert, ice singing its lethal song. The Valyrian steel blade cuts through walker armor like parchment. But there are 12 walkers, and only a handful of Valyrian steel weapons. We are being overwhelmed. Then Rhaella arrives with the dragons, small and brave. They are barely the size of large dogs. But they breathe fire, and fire is hope. The black dragon bathes whites in flame. The green dragon clears a path through the dead. The cream and gold dragon circles the Night King himself, breathing fire. The Night King raises one pale hand. The dragon's fire stops in mid-air, frozen solid. Gods preserve us. The Night King hurls the frozen fire back like a spear. It strikes the cream dragon. The poor creature falls, frozen solid before it hits the ground and shatters on impact. Rhaella screams in anguish. Viserys, who came against all advice, cries out. No. The boy runs forward, and the Night King reaches for him with casual cruelty. But Rhaella throws herself between them. The Night King's ice blade pierces her chest. Mother? She falls, her blood steaming in the frozen air. The Night King looks confused for the first time, as if dragon blood burning him is unexpected. Ned sees the opening. Robert, now. Robert charges. The Night King turns, but not quickly enough. The warhammer, heated red in dragonfire moments before, crashes into the Night King's chest. The Night King screams, a sound like glaciers calving. Cracks spread across his body, blue light blazing from within. For the living, Robert swings again. For the realm, the Night King staggers but does not fall. The cracks spread, but he remains standing, impossibly resilient. You cannot kill winter itself. The Night King drives his ice blade toward Robert's heart. Ned throws himself forward, ice intercepting the blow. The Valyrian steel holds, barely, against the ancient ice magic. Robert swings a third time. The hammer connects with the Night King's head. More cracks, more blue light. But still he stands. The remaining White Walkers advance, surrounding them. The Whites press closer. The 100 warriors are now fewer than 50, exhausted and wounded. This is not a victory. This is barely a stalemate. Then the Black Dragon, Daenerys' dragon, dives at the Night King's face, breathing fire directly into his eyes. The Night King screams again, clawing at his face. Robert swings one final time with all his strength. The hammer crushes the Night King's chest completely. The ancient being staggers, cracks spreading like lightning across his entire body. But he does not shatter. Not completely. Instead, he falls to one knee, wounded grievously but not destroyed. You cannot win. The Night King raises his hand. The temperature drops further. More whites rise from the snow around them, fresh corpses reanimated. The wounded warriors are surrounded, exhausted, bleeding. Ned grabs Robert's arm. We must retreat. Now. We cannot win this today. Robert stares at the kneeling Night King, so close to death but still alive, still dangerous. We had him. We almost had him. Almost is not enough. We go now, or we die here. They retreat, fighting every step. The Whites press them hard. More warriors fall. Benjen carries wounded Viserys. Oberyn guards their rear, his spear a blur. They fight their way south, leaving 30 men dead behind them. The Night King watches them flee from his throne of ice, wounded but alive, patient as winter itself. You will return, and I will be waiting. They return to Winterfell broken and bloodied. Of the 100 who rode north, only 40 survive. Robert carries Rhaella's body wrapped in his cloak. She was a queen. She deserves a queen's funeral. They burn her in the Targaryen way, the 2 surviving dragons breathing their small fire over her pyre. Viserys stands beside Ned Stark, watching his mother burn, his face a mask of grief. What happens now? The boy asks quietly. Now we prepare. We wounded the Night King but did not kill him. He will recover. He will come south. And we must be ready. And me? What happens to me? Robert kneels before the child, exhausted and bloodied. You are the last male heir of House Targaryen. By some rights, you could claim the throne. I do not want the throne. I want my mother back. I know. Robert's voice is gentle. But we do not get what we want. We get what we survive. You will be Lord Viserys Targaryen, Ward of the Crown. When you are grown, you will have Dragonstone. You will rebuild your house, not as kings, as lords who serve the realm. Honorable lords who remember what we fight for. And my sister? She will be a princess, protected and honored. I swear it on my life. Viserys looks at this man who killed his brother, who destroyed his family, who now offers him a future. I accept. The realm begins the slow process of preparation. The dead are burned to prevent reanimation. The wall is reinforced with new spells, stronger wards, more garrisons. The Night's Watch is reformed with volunteers, not criminals. Ned Stark marries Catelyn Tully to cement the alliances. Robert marries a Tyrell for political necessity. Tywin Lannister mourns his golden son and names Tyrion his heir, shocking the realm. He is a dwarf, my lord. He is a Lannister, and he is brilliant. That is sufficient. The dragons grow, fed on sheep and cattle. Within a year they reach the size of horses. Daenerys Targaryen, barely able to walk, has a dragon that would die for her. Viserys cares for the other with solemn dedication. Jon Snow is born in Dorne, Lyanna's son by Rhaegar. When Robert learns the truth, he does not rage. He is too tired for rage. Bring the boy north. Raise him as Ned's ward or bastard if you prefer. But keep him safe. You will not kill him? I have had enough of killing children. The boy did not choose his parents. The realm settles into uneasy peace. But in the far north, in the heart of winter, the Night King sits on his frozen throne, healing slowly, gathering strength. The cracks in his body seal gradually. The blue light in his eyes burns cold and patient. He has time. Winter always returns. And this time, when he marches south, he will bring winter that never ends. One of his White Walkers approaches, ancient and terrible. They wounded you, my king. They delayed me, nothing more. Let them have their temporary victory. Let them rebuild. Let them believe they are safe. And then winter comes. True winter. The long night that does not end. And this time, there will be no dawn. The Night King's laughter is the sound of ice cracking in the deep cold, promising a threat that still looms beyond the wall, waiting for its moment to strike. Years pass. The dragons grow larger. Daenerys becomes a young woman with a creature of legend bonded to her soul. Viserys grows into a thoughtful young man, nothing like his mad father. Robert rules as best he can. Not a great king, perhaps, but a functional one. He prepares the realm for the winter that will come. But he is growing old. The wound from the battle never fully healed. Sometimes his chest pains him. His breath comes short. At 45, Robert sits on the Iron Throne and feels the weight of it crushing him. Ned visits him often. They drink together, two old friends who survived what should have killed them. Do you think the Night King will return in our lifetime? Perhaps not. But he will return eventually. Then we prepare the realm for our children to face. That is all any of us can do. In the far north, the Night King watches and waits. His time will come. Winter always comes. And when it does, the realm will face its greatest test. The dragons are larger now. The dragonglass stockpiled. The armies trained. But will it be enough? That question haunts Robert's dreams. He sees the Night King in his sleep, sees blue eyes burning in the darkness. One night, he wakes, gasping, clutching his chest. Ned, we have to prepare them better. The dragons, the armies, everything. We are preparing, Robert. Not enough. Never enough. But Robert is right to worry, because in the heart of winter, the Night King rises from his throne. His wounds have healed, his power has returned, and winter comes. The long night approaches, and this time it will not be stopped so easily. Across the realm, maesters send warnings. The summer has been long, 10 years. Winter will be harsh beyond measure when it comes, and in the north the first snows begin to fall, not natural snow. This falls upward in places, swirls in patterns that defy nature. The Night's Watch sends ravens south. He comes. The Night King marches. The army of the dead moves south. Robert receives the raven in King's Landing. He is 50 now. Fat again, despite his best efforts. Old, but he stands and calls his council. The Night King comes. We knew this day would arrive. Now we face it. Your Grace, you are not well. Perhaps I am well enough to fight, and fight I will. He calls the banners one last time. Every kingdom, every house, every man who can hold a sword, the dead march, and the living must stand against them, or fall into eternal darkness. The great war is coming, the war for the dawn, and no one knows if they can win. But they will fight, because that is what the living do. They fight for life, for hope, for the dawn that may never come. Robert Baratheon, the warrior who never wanted to be king, prepares for his final battle. The hammer is lifted one last time. The dragons take flight, and winter comes. That is our theory. What if the White Walkers attacked during Robert's rebellion? The realm would have torn itself apart while the true enemy marched south, forcing bitter enemies to become desperate allies, forcing dragons to hatch in blood and terror, forcing the living to stand together against the dark. But even united, they could only wound the Night King, not destroy him completely. The true war is yet to come. If you enjoyed this exploration of what might have been, leave a like and tell us in the comments. Could the realm have defeated the Night King without dragons? What would you have done differently? How do you win a war against winter itself? Winter is coming. The only question is whether dawn will follow.